over here. Can you hear us?
Yeah, we hear you.
Okay. I think we gotta switch. Okay.
Well, don't you guys look cute?
Thanks.
All those curls popping.
I can't.
Hey, cousin Najwa. Najwa.
Hi.
Because there's a ghost.
Something's loud, Q. I don't know if that's on your end.
Did it
Hey,
stop?
Patricia.
Cousin Patricia.
Hi, everyone.
Okay, we get started in a second. So we have Rochester on the check-in. Cousin James, how are you? So if you guys can hear us, can you guys just hit the like real quick a few times just to let us know that you guys can hear, please?
It feels like how to do it.
Fine. All right, so we can go ahead and get started. Hey, Nicole. All right, so for those of you who don't know, who haven't been following us, hopefully most of you have by now, I'm Julian.
I'm Lydia.
And we are teenage parents who are inspiring others who don't think that they can make it. And just to show you that, and this is our 30 years together, which is part of the reason why we're doing this, that we made it for 30 years. The odds were against us. There was a lot of people that didn't think that we were going to make it, and we are here now. So the way this live is going to go, we're going to talk about our move to Baltimore from Connecticut. It occurred in 2014. I came down by myself. In 2015, the rest of the family came down. So we'll start it off by basically we'll talk about why we moved, and after I tell you guys why we moved, then we'll let the girls take over and talk about how the move impacted them, especially as teenagers. So the main reason why we moved is because I had a job opportunity, a very good job opportunity. The second reason why we moved is because a lot of people would kind of think that we were what they consider to be stuck. Like you can't do anything but stay in Connecticut, and you couldn't leave Connecticut because there's like a mentality that most people won't get out of Hartford. So that was one thing that we had to prove, I guess, to ourselves that we could overcome, as well as moving somewhere that we can definitely challenge ourselves as being an independent family unit. So what that means, especially with the girls as older, I know some people have younger kids, is that we no longer needed a babysitter. They're old enough to watch themselves. So we can move away from our family and be totally independent without our family. And then, of course, the lifestyle. Down here is a different lifestyle. I don't know if I mentioned in any of the other previous live sessions that Nene and I used to drop the kids off on a Friday or a Saturday night with our parents, because my mom would take the kids every other weekend, and we would say, okay, well, it's time for us to party, and we would drive around Hartford and do circles around Hartford and not find anywhere to go. And that was kind of disappointing, especially when you need to release and find somewhere to go. So do you want to add anything?
No, I think you summed it up. Looking for new opportunities and new atmosphere.
Yeah, and also, just so, I don't know if she knows, but it was 20 years that I had envisioned kind of moving to Maryland before it actually took place. Because I was going to try to do this back in like 1995. I came down here and I was working in healthcare at the time, and I was looking for a job. They didn't have the internet. It wasn't that easy, so I had to come down here and drive from hospital to hospital and do a paper application for a job. They could clearly see that I lived out of state. So, of course, they're not going to call. So I never got a call from that. So I had to sit back and kind of be patient and wait for my opportunity. And then, of course, the weather. So the weather down here, for those of you don't know, is it gets cold sometimes. Just kind of like Connecticut. But when it snows, the snow comes and goes. So that's always a plus. It just doesn't hang around. Hey, Chell. All right. So,
Bijo. Hi, Bijo.
hey, Bijou. All right. So now we're going to circle in and let our girls. Hey, Angelique. We're going to let our girls basically say how the move impacted them, and what did the move mean for them.
Well, when we moved, me and Jalen got way closer because we didn't have friends anymore, so we only had each other. And like back in Connecticut, we were always arguing. And then when we moved here, especially Jalen, really had to be there for me, but we had to be there for each other. So we weren't. I don't think were we arguing as much.
Not as much when we like argued.
I mean, of course, we're sisters, but and it also kind of got us out of our bubble of just being in Bloomfield, and we got to learn about different cultures. We got to see different people, different areas, different lifestyles. Like down here, they're more nice. In Connecticut, they're more, what's the word? Not mean, but down here there's more southern hospitality. And yeah, it just really got us me out of my comfort zone of just being like always with somebody and always with people that you know. And I got to be alone more. And now I like being alone and I don't like being bothered and stuff. So.
Hey, Carmel. Jalen.
I have to think because I don't remember. I remember it was like hard and like I don't know. I feel like I stayed a lot to myself because like Kamira was the child where mom and dad had more of their attention because she was like more. It was more hard on her. So like if I was like sad about it, I wouldn't talk about it because I felt like I had to be the stronger sister. So like I was like, okay, well,
Yeah.
So we moved here, and Q, you were in what grade were you going to? 11th grade, right?
Yeah, I was a junior.
Okay. So it was hard to
It
meet
was,
new people, make friends, try to.
yeah, and like the fears that you have, that you see in movies, thinking like people are mean to the new kid. I mean, at first I thought people were gonna be nice, but like you had to learn that no one's gonna really talk to you unless you talk to them. But then once I like learned that I didn't really want to talk to anyone anyways because I was leaving.
Because you were what?
Leaving, like graduating.
You were graduating.
Yeah,
Okay. So
because
what did you?
the whole junior year was like I was like sad the whole time until like the last week of school.
So what did you guys notice about the school system that was maybe different from where you were from?
I would say it was like the same, but there was more kids. So, and then there was like I don't know, like in Connecticut we had like what's those things called? Promethean boards.
mm-hmm.
And then I came down
And
here.
whiteboards.
Yeah, and then we came down here and they had like chalkboards, and I was like, this is kind of older, but there's more kids, more teachers. But it was like the same everywhere else. There was just way more kids. And I can say down here they had me do like way more presentations that I did not want to do.
So,
Yeah,
so that definitely gets you out of your comfort zone, right?
Yeah. But then once I went to college, like I didn't really mind doing presentations. So
So you were well prepared for college.
I guess.
So what grade were you in, Jylen?
I was going to eighth grade.
Okay. And so how did you feel?
I don't know. I don't. I don't remember.
Because
No,
you seem to
remember?
make friends a little
Yeah,
more
but
than
But
Q.
remember, she was crying that one night in Connecticut.
okay.
That was before we moved.
Yeah, that was before, but
um, I feel like then okay. So when you're like the new kid, you get friends from who have their own friend groups. So it's like all your friends have their own friend group, and then it's just you. So that's kind of how it was, and it's still kind of like that. So some people call me the loner kid, but I have friends. But I'm not an everyday friend. So like,
So
I felt like that changed me.
you're not a friend like Chalice, right?
Yeah, I'm not like I need my days like away. Like I can't be in your face every day.
Yeah.
So looking back, what kind of advice would you give to some kids who are moving to a new school? Um,
I would say stay strong. If you feel down, just tell somebody. Like if you feel depressed, tell somebody. And just know that people aren't mean by nature, no matter how much society or like the media tries to portray that, especially high school kids.
Mm.
And
mhm.
just try your best to learn and grow about and learn about yourself because that's going to be really helpful in the future.
Um, for me, cause since I was in eighth grade, I made a lot of friends from that go to Hammond now. So then when I went to Long Beach, I was like, I have to make friends here. So I would say just like try to talk to people or like you have to be comfortable with yourself
Yeah.
too.
And don't feel forced like you do have to
Yeah.
talk to people. It's
Mhm.
okay to be alone.
So how did the move impact your grades going to a new school?
My
Mm.
grades was fine until the third quarter, and I got a D in math. But other than that, I think the grades were fine. And the senior year was like easier because the teachers didn't really have us do nothing, so my grades were fine. It was just that one semester, but the grade went back up.
Yeah, but I feel like junior year is always the hardest because for me, junior year was really hard. Like it was a matter of figuring out because now, okay, in the beginning of the year is where everybody's like, okay, job, 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 or college,
Mm-hmm.
college, college.
Oh
So
yeah, no
then
shit.
you get like stressed out, and then the teachers they're just piling work, and then they're just like skipping through stuff. So it's like you kind of have to self teach yourself, and then it's like
That's all
okay,
packaging.
yeah, and then next thing you know, you're at the last quarter and you're like, okay, what happened? And then you're confused. But when I first moved, I don't even remember. I feel like my grades my grades have always been the same. Like
And Angelique joined. And Angelique, I see your comment. We ain't got no money in MD. Just to let you know, Angelique, Maryland is the richest state in the union. I'm pretty sure you know that. Connecticut used to be, but now Maryland is. So there is some money around here. I'm pretty sure you got some somewhere, but that's another live session. All right. So
That's what
what?
Chelsea
Howard
said something
County
wrong
is.
with her app.
So what did you guys notice when you got to Maryland? Like the atmosphere?
Um,
Um,
Well,
there
what do
was
you
like,
notice now? Because I mean, for a little bit there, you really didn't want to do anything because I think you were still sad that we moved. But I mean, we've been here for 4 years.
yeah, I would say now I'm more open, but I still like Baltimore and DC better than Howard County. But
Mhm.
like when we like moved here, we had like a pool that we could go to, and I was like, oh my gosh, I never seen like a pool before, like in like our house and stuff. Because in Connecticut, remember we always used to say that we want a pool, and then we moved
mm,
here, we had a pool, and people were like, or like adults in school were nice. Not in school, but like in general, like they'll be like, "Hey, good morning, how are you?" Like out of
um,
nowhere, just saying
Can
hi.
you do three?
And
um,
then of course there's other cultures here. There was way more white people, way more um Indian people, way more Hispanic people that we didn't see in Bloomfield. So that was kind of like, oh my gosh.
Um, I feel like the atmosphere was different because like you would go to the like okay, well, yeah, I went to the mall and it's like you have stuff to do there. Whereas in Connecticut, you just walk around. Whereas here they have like this little strip mall with stuff like statue, like statues and stuff, and then they have this little river, and then it's like people are more like together, like they fight, but it's
Oh,
like
she said.
like it's not as bad. Like if you like look at Connecticut at stuff in Connecticut, it's like every time there's something going on there, like that one thing where the guy flung the girl by her ponytail or whatever, and then the argument with the black person and the white person. Whereas here, it's like when you go out, people don't argue like that. They're like having a good time and stuff like that.
Yeah. And then it was nice because we went to the football game. Even though I was nervous during it, but we went to the football game. Then we got to see Beyonce. And then, yeah, it was just way more stuff. And now, I think that's why I like Baltimore so much because it's like the Ravens. And then we got donuts and ice cream. It was like so much other stuff. And then we was trying all these new restaurants.
I like Baltimore at night.
I like it.
What about DC at night?
I like DC, but there is like way more people there. Well, in like the monument part. I don't know about the living part.
Sometimes DC gets boring because you keep looking at the same thing.
I know you keep looking at the same Martin Luther King and Capitol and Lincoln. I mean, that's Baltimore too, though. We just sit outside and eat ice cream.
Yeah, but I feel like Baltimore has a different atmosphere to me. Like it's more like I guess homey, whereas DC is more like the suburbs.
So do you guys have anything else that you want to add? And anything else about the school system? Like how do they treat people, the handicapped kids?
They keep the handicapped kids. Well, for majority of the day, they keep them in a room. But now this year, I guess did they do this when you were there? They let them get the recycling and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, they let them like be a part.
Yeah, now they're letting them do that. But from first period to fourth period, they're just kept in their like room.
Yeah, the lunch is worse down here. Bloomfield had better lunches.
Yeah, the lunch is disgusting. Yeah, they give you chicken patty and pizza every day.
Every day. Every day.
Okay.
Every single day.
Hey, cousin Anthony, Kevin, and hey, Sharon, got Canada in the building. Sorry, special needs. You're right, Angelique. I apologize for that. Special needs kids. I should know better than that, considering who our employer is, right? I apologize for that. So, do you guys have anything else that you want to add?
Oh, and for the handicapped kids, they gave us bracelets.
No, you have to say special needs.
Special needs. Sorry, for the special needs kids, they gave us bracelets to stop calling them the R word.
What does the bracelet say?
I pledge to end the word.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
So they gave them to everybody at school.
Anything else?
No, it was like the same.
It was like
as
the same.
In school, just way more kids. Like it was way too many people here. Way too many.
Okay. So we'll switch over to Mom.
To me? All right. Well, I mean, once you have a big move, I think everybody feels the same thing. You have anxiety, you're nervous, you're excited, all wrapped into one. I do have to say that when you decided to move down here, point out that that was like the worst winter ever in Connecticut. I never used the snowblower.
No, that was the best.
So that year, I sure did learn how to use the snowblower. And I actually kind of enjoyed it. I mean, it snowed like every week, every Monday.
Now we have the snowblower and we don't use it at all. We haven't used it in 5 years.
Now
It
in
just sits
the
there.
garage sitting there. But so points for me. But yeah, we moved here in June. Julian came in, what was it, September, and then we came in June. And starting a new job, it was the same employer, but it was a new job. You had to meet new people and learn your surroundings. And I think that Maryland is very diverse. Where we live, there's a lot of different cultures, a lot of different people. Um, for the most part, I think people are a little nicer here than in Connecticut. Um, I don't know, what else do we touch on?
I can
There
say
are a lot
that
of places to eat here. It's very easy to gain weight.
The Amish market.
uh,
No.
there's a lot of different things to try, I think, that we weren't probably exposed to in Connecticut. A
Yeah,
lot of different foods and cultures and
restaurants,
mom and
donuts,
pop shops.
yeah. So
ice cream, and cookies.
I don't know. I think that I'm still learning, you're still in the new surroundings. I do still, people will tell me they're from here or from there, and I don't really know where that is, but I'm trying to learn.
Yeah. And she's trying to find a place to get her hair done. So if you guys know any great salons,
I did get my hair done.
well, you're trying to find that go-to person, right?
Yes,
Still.
she did a good job.
So, anything else?
Nicole is asking, is it more or less expensive than Connecticut?
It's about the same. The gas is cheaper right off the bat. I'll tell you that right now. But other than that, and the tax is cheaper. You guys are at 6.35%. I think we're still sitting at 6. So we are taxed different. However, we do have tolls. So if you go the wrong way, you'll hit a toll and you got to pay for it. But for the most part, I think
I think
actually,
some areas are more expensive than others, kind of just like Connecticut. So you have to know where you're moving to.
yeah, and I think rents are more expensive down here by far. Especially if you're comparing it to in Hartford or New Britain. I mean, rents are like double that easily, and the housing market is different. Cousin Curtis. So anything else you want to add?
No, I'll just add it with you when you're talking.
Okay, so I'm just going to start out with the. Okay, so I have the good and the bad. So first of all, we'll start with the bad and we'll end with the good. So the bad is we have rental property in Connecticut. It's hard to find a property manager up there that's going to do right by you. The market in 2008 kind of took a change. So it's tough to unload the rental properties and continue to move on. But however, we still have benefits from the rental properties. So it's not all bad, but just trying to maintain that is a big challenge. Also, still having family in Connecticut still has an impact. I know earlier I said we wanted to try to prove that we could be a independent family unit. However, because my side of the family is so big, and actually, and her side of the family is pretty big, we get a lot of sicknesses that we hear about, and we have to go up there all the time to check on our family, and at least say hi. And Jylen. So we have to go up there. Hey, Susan. So we have to go up there and at least say hi. We have to check on them, and then when somebody dies, we have to go up there and show our respect. So there's still a lot of traveling back and forth. And in all honesty, we do get homesick. Well, I get homesick sometimes. Not, and it only lasts for like a second. Okay, because especially when I go back to Hartford, and I see people posting on Facebook, I'm like, it looks like they're having a good time. And then I get up there and I'm just like, well, what happened to the good time? So the pictures on Facebook, the parties that I see on Facebook that I see people having a good time, it seems like it's a little deceiving because we get up there and we're like, okay, so where's all these places that people kind of end up going, and they don't seem like they exist when we go back up to visit. But maybe we're just not going to the right places, or we don't know the right people. And another thing that's bad about Baltimore is Baltimore has hoods down here that makes the worst projects in Hartford look like heaven. Um, you know, when we were looking into getting into real estate down here, and when we were looking at some of the properties for rent, some of the neighborhoods we went in, you would not believe what they look like. I mean, you're talking like really like Beirut in America. Like the top of the roofs looks like they've been blown off. You have a lot of people that are walking around limping and looking like they have special. That's like the dark side of it. And then of course, you know, you guys probably hear about somebody getting shot pretty much every day. So on average, you know, if you turn on the news down here, you'll hear, you know, on average maybe 10 people get shot a day. So that's, you know, a bad thing. However, you know, like they said, like the girl said, like the hospitality down here is so awesome, and people are very well spoken that you wonder who's doing the shooting, because you talk to anybody, they sound extremely articulate and well educated, and then you turn around and say, well, somebody's shooting, and you don't know who those people are. So that's one of the bads. So the goods about moving to Maryland is nobody knows who you are. So when people don't know who you are, that means you get up, you go, you don't have to iron your clothes. You even though I do, and she gets on me about it, but you don't have to iron your clothes. I scruffy beard, you know, and still go do whatever I'm going to do. And, you know, it's just like having nobody knowing you. You don't have to worry about having the image that you had growing up for so long. So that's also a plus. One thing that I did notice is that there's truth, and when they say when you move away, that people will support you more, because support doesn't come from familiar faces. So, I mean, like instantly down here, when I started my position, it didn't take me long to get promoted to the next step. I spent years at my other jobs in Hart and up in Connecticut before somebody else would come in and they would just promote them right away. And I just didn't understand it. And, you know, sooner or later, it makes you a little wary as to what time you're going to get the axe, no matter how well you do your job. But coming down here, it seems like, you know, the support did come from people who don't know you, and they appreciate you for your talent and what you bring to the table. Another thing is I noticed that there's a lot of people down in Maryland. Maybe not as many as Atlanta, Susan, but there's way more than Connecticut right off the bat, and there's traffic starting at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Chick-fil-A's are packed all day long.
Oh, yes.
Chick-fil-A's are packed from breakfast all the way to closing down here, no matter what day of the week. Okay, so there's so many people down here, and it doesn't matter what Chick-fil-A you go to. There's a bunch of them, and they're all booming like crazy. So you know, when there's a lot of people, there's a lot of opportunity. Another thing I like is that there's a lot of new construction down here. So when you're looking to move to a place, you can move into a brand new spot. In Connecticut, there's a lot of old real estate. You know, most of it's like from 1950s and older. There's hardly any new stuff that's popping up, which is a sign that there you go. Okay, you got a point, Angelique. Chick-fil-A is not crowded on Sunday. So yeah, like I was saying, there's not much by the way of new construction in Connecticut, but down here there's a lot of new construction, especially in the county where we live. I mean, they're finding places to build in places where we didn't even know there was land there. You know, you drive by, one day you're seeing trees, next day you'll see a whole apartment complex, or you'll see a brand new Royal Farms. And for those of you who don't know about Royal Farms, they have some of the most banging chicken at this corner store. Okay, so you do remember, Susan. They have some of the most bangingest chicken at Royal Farms.
Royal Farms.
Fried chicken, okay? So if you guys don't know about Royal Farms, you come to Maryland, stop at Royal Farms, and get some fried chicken, and I'm pretty sure you won't be disappointed.
That's who turned us on, Angelique.
No, my boss Brian did. He just like, oh, you got to go to Royal Farms. Okay, so another thing that's great about Maryland is the state enthusiasm is off the chain. Okay, they put their state flag in everything. They put their state flags in keychains. They put their state flags in pajamas. They put their state flags in
Socks, hats, sunglasses. We saw
sunglasses
somebody with a tattoo the other day of the flag.
of the flag. They migrate the flag and the license plates. They migrate the flag. You can see the state flag on a Southwest airplane from far away, and you know that is the Maryland state flag. I mean, the enthusiasm for this state is off the chain. And yeah, same with you, Angelique. So I'm telling you, the enthusiasm, like the Ravens, the Orioles, and they call it the Battle of the Beltways. So there's two beltways. There's the Baltimore Beltway and there's the DC Beltway. The DC Beltway is like the Washington Capitals, the Washington Wizards, all of the professional teams for DC, the Washington Redskins, and then you have the Baltimore Orioles and the Baltimore Ravens. And they're such rivals, it's ridiculous. So when you're driving around Maryland, you will see people like a husband and wife. They'll have their one like the wife will have on a Redskins shirt and the husband will have on a Raven shirt, and it's the day that the Ravens are playing. You wonder like how are they going to get along after that game? But and also one thing that you'll see is like a lot of cars driving around with like the Redskins flags hanging out. The what is it? The Baltimore Ravens flags hanging out. And then, of course, there's the license plates. So in Maryland, I don't know how many license plates they have, but you could get a license plate with your university on it. You could get a license plate with your fraternity or your sorority on it. I mean, you could get a license plate saying that you're a fireman. They have all of these license plates that symbol something. And it's just like the state enthusiasm is off the chain. Hey, Cousin Vera. So when you're at when I'm at work, one thing I noticed immediately when I got to work was people had Baltimore Ravens paraphernalia tacked up around their cube like wallpaper, okay? And then you see like the calendars, and then of course there's the University of Maryland. It's just really off the chain of state enthusiasm.
Hi, Gilda.
And the next thing is the diversity. I'm pretty sure you guys heard my kids touch on it, my wife touch on it. The diversity, especially where we live close to Columbia, Maryland, where there's definitely a lot of mixed couples and mixed kids, and the diversity is off the chain. And the thing about living close to Columbia is you don't know who's who. So, if you guys saw my post yesterday about this guy that I talked to at the gym, my gym friend, I mean, to have conversations, the conversations I have with that guy is just off. It's crazy. He talks about stuff that just blows my mind. Like after talking to him yesterday, I had to call a huddle with the family and say, okay, guys, we're not dreaming big enough, because this guy, if you guys saw the post, he has 650 exotic birds. He has albino wallabies. He has a turtle. And he's a neurosurgeon, okay? So usually, like up in Connecticut, I don't think I can ever touch base with somebody on that level and have these conversations with somebody on that level. They tend to shy away from people who kind of look like me. But this guy, I mean, he's retired at 62. He has so much stuff going on that, I'm looking at my wife. Like one day he was telling me that he has what he called a gentleman, which is also known as a butler. So I turned to my wife like, when do we get our gentleman? And yesterday I turned to the kids and I'm just like, well, when do we get our albino wallabies? Because it's like, well, who doesn't have that, right? Because down here you just don't know who's who. Our daughter Chellis is still in Connecticut. There's this one guy that goes to the gym. He works out. He's an amateur bodybuilder. And, my wife won't admit it, but I know my wife thinks he's really cute. His parents set him and his sister up to own multiple McDonald's each. So when you hear stuff like that, it's like, well, what did we miss up in Connecticut? We don't know anybody in Connecticut that owns McDonald's. I don't know anybody in Connecticut that's like a neurosurgeon. So the atmosphere down here is definitely different. People will give you the time of day. People don't shy away from you because you look a certain way. And and obviously there's also a lot to do down here. So between Baltimore and DC, you could do what they call people watching. So what that means to me is we can go and you see somebody with a boom box doing some type of break dancing, or they're lining people up and they're running and they're doing like these somersaults over like 9 people. Somehow they're jumping over 9 people somehow and just doing all of this crazy stuff. And then you see, of course, so some of the bad, especially in DC, is the amount of homeless people that you see, which, I don't know if that's ever going to come to an end, but that's definitely something that really pulls at my heartstring to go and see the amount of homeless people, especially when it's right in front of the White House. And, we're supposed to be the best country on the planet, and we still have, many homeless people out there, and we're not finding, I guess, I don't know if they don't want to work. I don't really know what their story is, but I need to, maybe one day we can take some time when we're in DC riding around. So, and just so you guys know, is part of, we have this thing called our budget is based on 70, 10, 10, 10. So it means 70% of what we make, we spend on bills and everything else. 10% we invest, 10% we give back, and the other 10% you pay yourself. And that 10% that we give a lot of that back when we go to DC. So when you see us riding around on scooters, there's a good chance that, we're enjoying ourselves. But what you don't see is you don't see us pulling up on the homeless people and, giving them a few dollars to, go have a coffee, or, go have a sandwich or something like that. And one thing that I was telling my wife, because when I pull up on these homeless people and I have like a small conversation with them, is they come across like incredibly articulate, especially those around the White House. So I told my wife, I said, I'm not exactly sure, but I think some of those homeless people just might be Secret Service, because because they are just way too articulate for some people, and they sound very well educated when you talk to them, considering that they're homeless. It just doesn't make sense to me that, when I pull up on somebody. And I know one time we were leaving the club in DC one night, and we circled around the White House, and there was some homeless people out on the bench. And I pulled over. My daughter and her friends were in the back seat. I pulled over, and I went up on this guy who appeared to be sleeping on a bench, and I gave him some money, and I told him, I said, when you wake up in the morning, go get yourself a nice coffee and a sandwich. And then when I was running back to the car, there just happened to be some guy in the car that heard everything that I said to the guy and saw everything that transpired. And he said, he said, good for you, man. And I said, what? Like, where did that voice come from? And he's like, hey, he's like, good for you, man. And then I look in the car, and it's this guy sitting in the dark. So I'm like, well, is that guy Secret Service watching over this guy who's Secret Service? Because it's just kind of weird how people are like watching over each other in that square around the White House. So, I mean, this is stuff that you don't really get to see in Connecticut. Another thing that's interesting about Maryland, especially with my wife and I having friends that work in the government, is we'll go to parties where you cannot take selfies, you cannot take pictures at the parties, because, hey, Rosa, because the people at the parties are part of Secret Service details. Like, I know we went to a party one night at somebody's house, and of course everybody wants to show that they're having a good time on Facebook, and they were like, well, you can't take parties here, and we're just like, why not? And they're just like, because the guy over there is part of Mike Pence's detail. And I'm looking like, word? why am I in a party with somebody who's like this close to like the vice president, or this close to the president? So also, another thing is, I mean, you see a lot of stuff down here. Like, we'll come home late at night and we'll see 2 black SUVs that look alike trailing each other just like fighter planes. And then you see where they get off the exit. And when you get off the exit, you find out that, there's a diplomat that lives like 2 streets over from you. So there's diplomats down here. It's just a totally different vibe. We also live close to Fort Meade and the NSA. So the military is heavy down here. There's just it's just a vibe that I just can't describe. And I'm trying to explain to the girls about the other day. I was trying to explain to the girls about all the water towers and why there's so many water towers around here, and it's to let them know that they live close to the White House, and this is probably, if somebody's going to try to hit, this will probably most likely be the first place, and we need to be prepared. And and they didn't get it, and I don't think they're still getting it. But
Yeah, you can't walk up to the fence anymore.
no, you can't walk up, and they have it blocked off, and and they have like these square stations, these little huts that I'm pretty sure there's all types of artillery behind those huts, Susan. So another thing is so I mentioned the diversity. The restaurants, like the kids said, there's donuts. I mean, the restaurants down here are off the chain. You guys probably see me posting some stuff. I know my cousin Gina said that my dessert game is I have a wicked dessert game, and it's because of the people down here. They're not afraid to take chances. So the stuff that you would do in your house, still bring it to a restaurant. For instance, we had these things called the cinnamon toast crunch paizuki. And I'm like, well, I would probably do that as a kid, throw some cinnamon toast crunch on top of some ice cream and then mix it with a cookie. But they did it in a restaurant, right? So it was bomb. Another a drawback about living down here is we don't get good pizza. Yeah, we do have a Morton's shell. That's another thing. Connecticut Morton's closed. Down here, there's still a Morton's. But we don't get good pizza down here. We can't get a grinder down here to save your life, but we can get a sub, but it's just not the same. So the Italian restaurants, the Italian cakes and all of that stuff that you learn to enjoy in Hartford off of Franklin Avenue is just not down here. But for the most part, I mean, Maryland is pretty much one of the places that I dreamed of coming to. We're here now. Is it exactly how I thought it would be? No. But I can tell you it's not worse. So I don't know how the girls feel about that. How do you feel about when I said girls?
I don't know. I didn't really think of anything when I came down here, so it's just what it is.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Until you was living close to Chick-fil-A and you became an addict.
Chick-fil-A ain't even all that good.
Whatever.
Their
Whatever.
fries, they do not have good fries. Okay.
Well, another thing, speaking of not good, is there's a lot of Dunkins down here. So Starbucks is, hey Lucy, hey Wendy.
Hey Wendy.
Starbucks is the coffee of choice down here by far. Okay, so Starbucks is, and then there's also a place called Pete's that we recently tried. Pete's is not as prominent as Starbucks. It's like a Starbucks like every 3 feet that you walk, there's like a Starbucks. We were used to Dunkin' Donuts. It took us 5 years now, because we just now found her, to find a Dunkin' that's close to Connecticut.
3 years, because remember Q was working at Dunkin' for a little bit.
But
so she knew what she was doing.
They were still... but before that's only when she was there, because the other people were burning up. Before that,
like 2 years, we had to go to Starbucks.
The other people were burnt in Jylin too. You guys were both there for a while together. So yeah, pizza's great. So yeah, other than that, like I said, we got the restaurants that have the donuts. We have the Amish market. So if you guys aren't familiar with the Amish, yeah, Big Shirley's at the bomb too, child. If you guys aren't familiar with the Amish, it's like a place where the Amish come from Pennsylvania. The Pennsylvania Dutch come from Pennsylvania on the weekends, and they're dressed in their Amish clothes. And I can tell you, when I took my mother there, I mean, she was just like flabbergasted. Like she just stood in the corner, like looking around, like she was seeing like a bunch of like Martians or what do they call it? The Munchkins on the Wizard of Oz. Like she was just sitting there, like, you know, she just had to like take it in, like, because she's not used to that type of diversity. And then you know, the food there was awesome. You know, the food at the Amish market is awesome. They have a lot of things that a mom and pop shop would do. They have the s'mores year round. They make their own ice cream. And then they have the meat. And I remember the first time I went there and I looked at where they have the meat at, and I was just like, you know, everybody else waiting in line can go home now, because I'll just eat all of this shit. I mean, the meat was so fresh, and you know, everything was just, I mean, the Amish market is the place to go. So if you're ever in Maryland, stop at the Amish market in Laurel. You will not be disappointed. Trust me. They have something for everybody. And believe me when I say everybody, there's something there for everybody. So, what's up, Randy? Randy Grad. So, girls, what did you guys think about having your own rooms when you moved down here?
Um,
It was nice because I had my own floor. And me and Janet had to share no bunk beds anymore. That kept squeaking around.
I think the best wasn't the best. Like everybody had their own bathroom.
Yeah.
until you had
We
to
didn't.
clean.
You have to clean. Yeah. So, Susan, sorry to interrupt, girls, but Susan, my brother is an ATL now. He moved back to ATL almost a year ago, so he is an ATL now. So you can let Chris know.
Right. That's been bad.
Yeah, that's another
Yeah.
thing too. Was like being closer with our cousins was like really nice because we never really got to know them like that. But now we're like close, best friends.
And they moved.
Yeah, but we'll see them next week.
Yeah. So, do you guys have any questions for us out there? Anything from any of the previous lives that you may have seen? I know somebody sent me a message. They want me to do a live on real estate, and I'm going to put that together soon. Show how we started and show how things are now.
Bye, Chelis.
HL and show how things are now
What did she say?
a little bit different. So
Charles, do you want to call in, or are you good? Did you want to say something?
Yes, we'll come by the
can she watch the live and still call the phone? No, I
Well, they
noticed
can hang up and she can call in.
there's like a 30-second delay. You guys want to have Chell join? You guys can hang up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
cause
my
Q's
phone
phone's
about
about
to
to
die.
die.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thanks,
Okay.
guys.
Bye.
Chell, you want to join? Can you send us a
Invite.
an invite to approve you, please, like you did before? All right. There you go.
You should just want to be on TV on the
On
live.
the line. Hey,
Hey,
baby
girl.
girl.
Hey,
Hey, baby
girl.
girl. You gotta put your earphones
You
in.
gotta put your
Remember?
earphones in, remember?
Excuse my appearance.
Excuse your
Can you hear
parents.
me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Why are you talking about your parents like that?
I say, excuse my appearance. I just came from the gym
Oh, okay. So, Chell,
a
do you
little
want to say
while
anything
ago.
about how the move impacted you since you're still left up in Connecticut?
Yep. I
Don't
think that it
cry.
really. I'm not gonna cry. I passed the crying phase. At first, it it was really tough. Even though I knew I wanted to move out, I was hot and ready. I was like, all right, y'all moving back. But then when I realized y'all was really gone, I'm like, well, the only people I could really go to that was the closest to me was my grandma's, but it's still not the same. So it's hard because we moved as a family unit since I was born. So, I'm going to my dentist appointment and the dentist's like, how's your mom and your dad and your sisters? And I'm like, no, just me, just by myself. So it was hard because I think I was more dependent on you guys. Like, I realized with moving out or moving by myself up here that I can't just call my dad to be like, Dad, something going on with the car, and then he just come over and help.
No, but I help
It's
you through
kind of like
FaceTime.
you do. I'm like, all right, I gotta.
Well, did you see her nails? She can't get her nails messed up.
You already know what time it is. But yeah, that was hard for me just being away from you guys because I always pictured that I was gonna move out, but I was gonna come home whenever I wanted, like get a little Sunday dinner here and there. But it feels like I guess that I'm away at college for an extended period of time. I guess I'll put it that way. So
Well, remember you kind of felt like you and your sisters were drifting apart. I think
yes,
that was hard for
me
you.
that was very hard for me. Me and my sisters have never been really close. If you guys saw the last live, we are 10 and 7 years apart. And I was always like, mommy Chell. And I thought, everybody says as your sisters get older, you guys will grow closer. And I felt like I was missing out on some of the best years of their life. And when they were going through all their struggles, for me not to be there for them was hard for me because, I'm big sis. So I always take care of them and push them and want to be there with them. And I kind of felt like helpless that I couldn't do anything for them being up here. So that definitely bothered me. And yeah,
But I
it's
think
hard.
that they're a little older now. So I think they reach out to you more.
Much more, much more. But we still working on it. We're gonna work on it.
So, Susan is asking about the difference between public transportation and
Trains.
trains. Okay, so Susan, Chell, when were you down here the last time? We went down into the metro
That was Memorial Day weekend.
Memorial Day weekend. So the first time my youngest daughter ever seen a subway station was Memorial Day weekend. She never seen one until then. We don't take the trains because we don't need to take the trains. Where we live is everything is like right in the middle of everything, and also the where we work at, the train does not go anywhere near our job. So, but if we needed to take the train, we can take the train. The train itself is like biking distance from our house, and we could take the train there to DC if we wanted to, or we could even take the train to Baltimore to catch an Orioles game or a Ravens game. So yeah, it's different than CT. I know CT has this thing called the CT Fast Track where there's like a bus that they just allow the bus not to have any red lights, so everybody has to stop for the bus. But that's the closest that they can get to to a train up there.
Oh, wait, hold on, because your girl worked for the Department of Transportation.
Metro North, New Haven.
We have Metro North that, nope, now it's extended to Hartford and it goes up to Springfield. So they kind of are Connecticut's trying real hard to compete with other states. They're just falling short because they're lagging behind with everything.
Mm-hmm. Did we say hi to Rosa?
Yeah. Hey, Rosa. Hey, Paul. So, Chell, what did you notice when you started coming down here compared to Connecticut? When you started coming down often to Maryland, what did you notice that was different? And when you go back to Connecticut, what do you feel is different?
The biggest thing I noticed is, I guess, just like you said, the hospitality. I have a lot of sorors down there, way more than up here. I remember the last time I went down there, I went into a store with grandma. And when we were coming out, I forgot I had my shirt on that had my sorority on it. And one of my sorors was down the window like, "Hey, soror." And I was like, "How does she know that I was a Delta?" And I looked at my shirt and I looked at her plate and I was like, okay, like there's just so much more of us per se. The one thing that I don't like that I noticed is that there's not enough Puerto Rican or Spanish bakeries because, that's the part that I be missing. Like, you go down there, sometimes you want to just get your little Spanish food, and I know mom struggles sometimes to find stuff. Um, but it's much more lively in DC. I would say, especially like I noticed the men down there, they love natural women. Like, you wear your hair curly, you getting drinks all night.
Yeah, yeah, and on speaking of the men in DC and the liveliness in DC, um, I was so they had did I say what's up to Paul? Paul and Tanika, what's going on?
Hi.
Um, So there was an all-white party down here at MGM Grand, which is the new casino that they have in National Harbor, close to DC. And then there was an all-white party up in Hartford at Club 960. For those of you guys who are familiar with 960, and right off the bat, you can look at the pictures of the Club 960, and then you can look at the pictures from the one down here, and you can clearly see. And keep in mind, they start partying down here 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and they party at 4 o'clock just like it's 2 o'clock in the morning in Hartford. So Hartford has this warm up period that they have to go through when they start partying. DC just starts out, it's like a microwave. It's like you go there and it's like zing. And I can tell you when we first came down, especially if certain songs come on, me and her would kind of get on the wall and act like wallflowers because either we didn't like the song, but they would approach us. Guys would approach us and be say, "Why y'all not dancing?" So I'm looking at my wife like, "Yeah, why we not dancing?" And on top of that, I kind of didn't like the song, but you think about it, they're very happy-go-lucky down here for the most part, and that's one thing that I noticed right off the bat. They are very lively down here, and if you know the energy, especially in DC. I haven't partied in Baltimore yet, but the energy. Well, actually, Angelique's birthday party was in Baltimore, so that was cool. And Angelique, you probably noticed how we sat around acting like we were kind of boo-hoo. That's because I think after watching this live, you probably understand now our background and how we are where we are. So DC is definitely a place that will break you in. If you want to come to party, you party in DC. When Chellis and her girlfriends came and they was ready to go, we were leaving the club and was people still coming into the club like droves and droves, and it's 2 o'clock in the morning. And in Connecticut, there used to be bedtime at 2 o'clock in the morning, right? Because you know they shut down at 1:30, and it's a wrap.
We've taken our family to the club, member, and they was on the side sleeping. I'm like, y'all have to get up. It's party time.
Yeah.
They're like, we're tired.
Angelique, your party was uppity. Your birthday party was uppity. But yeah, I mean,
there's much more younger people down there. Period.
Yeah, and another thing, especially in DC, is a lot of people are very well kept. So, and I'm not trying to disrespect anybody up in Connecticut, but there's just something about, you know, the parents down here that means a lot. You know, they have to really, you know, take care of their hair. They take care of their skin, their makeup. I mean, you know, the women down here, they definitely take good care of themselves. So. Actually, it does count because most of the people there was your people, Angelique. Your party does count as a party in Baltimore, and y'all was off the chain. I have a video of you somewhere dancing off the chain. So, Chalice, anything else? I know you mentioned your awards. Anything else you noticed down here when you come down? Anything that you expect, or do you kind of know to expect the unexpected sometimes?
I think that because I was able to go down there so many times, I just think it's much more culture. Going to Howard Homecoming about 3 or a few more times allow me to really be immersed in something different. The heritage there, the history there is so much more rich. So there's always, something to do, something to learn. Especially if you go, down to DC, all those different museums, and we haven't even went to. Well, I know I didn't go like to
To a
half of them
fraction,
yet.
yeah, no. I mean,
Yeah.
there's so many of them, and they're free, right? Other than the zoo where you park is $25, but they're free. But again, back to the heritage. One thing that you pointed out to me, especially being African American, is in the workplace, there are people who when they greet me, they call me brother. They say, "What's up, brother?" And that's one thing that in Connecticut I didn't get. Okay, and if anything was maybe a me mug, but for the most part in Connecticut, it was like like people just always like me mugging you for like no reason. Like if you look at somebody, it's like a sign of disrespect, and all you're trying to do is just go to the supermarket or just go to the restaurant or whatever, and just live your life. So down here, it is an adjustment to walk by people and they say, "What's up, brother?" It's an adjustment to actually there is an adjustment for me to go to work and have people at the front desk with guns. As an adjustment to go to work and have bomb sniffing dogs running around the place. You turn the corner and all of a sudden you see this ball bouncing and you see this white lab just or whatever dog it is just come chasing the dog, and you see it's a security dog. It's not a dog that's like a service dog for people who have special needs. So that's definitely an adjustment. And Paul, I saw your comment about my brother. Yes, those were some of the best years. Coming down here, especially when you created your own bedroom out of those bookcases. I mean those were the days. You, Sonny, and my brother, all his roommates. That one, it was off the chain. So, and like Chella said, the Howard homecomings were off the chain, and not just the partying, but I'm going to tell you, considering Howard homecoming is a historically black university, when you would go there at the Howard homecomings and you see the sororities, you see the fraternities, and then you see them being prosperous and all getting along and being real civilized. I mean, that's just something that I just wasn't seeing, like a whole group congregate. Like whenever people would congregate in Connecticut, you always had to be on high alert to run because you didn't know what was going to go down. But down here, you see people coming through. They have their as Chella says, their Nelia on, their paraphernalia, and I mean, you know right off the bat what they're about. I mean, there's just so much of it, and they really support their own down here. I mean, if you're going to open up a restaurant, if your restaurant is good enough, expect to open multiple. They have a place down here called the Green Turtle, off the chain. Multiple places down here for the Green Turtle. They have
Connie's.
Connie's, chicken and waffles. Yep.
That red velvet
Connie's chicken
waffle.
and waffles. They have Geno's. We haven't been to Geno's yet. They have a place called Hip Hop Chicken. Okay, so if you come down here, Royal Farms chicken is off the chain. Hip Hop Chicken is off the chain. And chicken overall is just popular down here because Extra Mart at 3:30, Extra Mart smells like chicken. So everybody loves chicken down here. So
Angelique has a question for Chella.
Yes, I saw. So I think that my responsibility has increased in terms of more family matters. Like I know because my family's not here, I'm kind of like I feel like the representative sometimes. You got to make sure you check on Wella, then you check on Grandma, then you check on your other Wella. I'm like, I didn't realize how much being an adult and doing your own thing, you kind of don't have that much time for a lot of other things. You have to make time. And sometimes I feel like I don't do as good of a job as, my parents would do to make sure they check on the family. That's one thing you could tell my family is big on is taking care of their family. And they do come up here and make sure they make their rounds. And then sometimes, I know he tries not to bother me, but I have to go to the properties and I need to learn anyway, especially if, I'm trying to invest into it. But some of the stuff I'm like, no, that's just it's not for me to do. Like, he had a leak in the basement before and he wanted me to go down there and try to check. And I was like, I don't know
yeah,
if I can handle this.
spiders is not supposed to be part of the game. So that's a rare occasion, Shell. But again, that's one of the things with pipes busting in Connecticut. You got to you get used to that because of the cold temperature. We don't have those extended periods of freezing down here like in Connecticut it could be 30 below for with the wind chill for like 3-4 days, and those type of things happen. So especially with the older homes that don't have that insulation, like a lot of the new construction down here has, you bump into that type of stuff often. So anything else, Chell, you want to add?
Nope.
Yeah. So, you have anything you want to add?
No.
Okay. So we're going to close it out. First of all, again, we love you guys. We appreciate you guys for joining us. And, this again was one of the videos. I'm not sure what people was expecting, but I hope you guys kind of got out of it that, you can become unstuck. Like I said earlier in the beginning, part of one of the main reasons was to show that challenge ourselves and become a family, an independent family unit, and to see how it works out, as well as having like a new opportunity and to go different places. And being a teenage parent, you have to realize that right off the bat, people say what you're not going to do, and going places is one of them. So if you look at some of the places that we've gone to and where we are now, this is stuff that we are not supposed to be doing as teenage parents. I mean, so hopefully somebody will get inspired by this and understand that whatever people say that you can't do, you really can do. And if we were able to do it, especially if you're single, it should be in a walk in the park for single people, especially if you waited to have a kid. So people who are not doing what they want to do, because success isn't just about the money. It's really about doing what you want to do on your own terms. If you're not doing that, if you're still living a life of like want, then hopefully this will inspire you to let you know that you can do it. Just take the bull by the horns and don't listen to anybody. You got to basically get what you came here for. When you was put on this earth for a reason, and to basically work, go home and sleep and die, I don't think is really one of them. So I don't know if you guys, Chad, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, I do. So just for everybody that sees that I'm still up here, I'm not staying up here. Um, I definitely want to move. I wanted to move. I don't know if you guys remember. I wanted to move to Maryland originally to start school. My parents just beat me to it
Got to get those
because I
SATs
went to
in.
UConn. Yep,
But
I went to UConn instead.
UConn paid your way, so you are.
They
I'm
did.
grateful for UConn. I don't know about you, but a
I'm
full
yeah, I
scholarship
am.
is nothing to be not to shake a stick at. So
Yeah, and so I definitely plan to move. I definitely want to be with you guys in Maryland, but I also want to go somewhere a little warmer. But overall, I have never met maybe seldomly I've met people or a person that has said that they don't like when they move out of Connecticut. Like everybody that moves out of Connecticut never wants to come back, or they don't come back. And if they do come back, they're like, I'm getting out of here ASAP. I don't even know why I came back. So it's always good to leave a place that's familiar to you.
yeah, and I think part of the reason why a lot of people don't leave Connecticut is the comfort zone. I mean, I know there's people that complain and they say, "Oh, I'm on a 2-year plan." Well, you kind of go before you're ready. There's no such thing as being truly the perfect time for anything. You have to kind of make it the perfect time. So unless I mean, it's just almost impossible to really map your life out day by day. And one thing too is, like I said earlier, is like when you move away from familiar faces, blessings still, they start coming out of nowhere. There's people that, like Angelique is one of the people that, Angelique, I know that you and my wife talk all the time about God knows what, but I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful for you for helping her keep her sanity, because and some of the stuff like
Husbands
you
be
do,
like,
Angelique she has a side hustle, and her side hustle is going to be instrumental to helping us move forward in some of the things that we want to do. So this is what happens when you move away from where you're from. You meet new people that do different things, and some of those things you may be into, some of those things you may not be into, but you can always test the waters and give it a chance. And like I said, not to really put down Connecticut, but I think the government in Connecticut definitely needs some work. They got to kind of like loosen up and stop being so stiff and let people enjoy themselves. And I think Connecticut can rebound. Um, Also, just my opinion, I think a lot of people in Hartford need to let go of the Hartford Whalers. It's like having a girlfriend that broke up with you a long time ago and you are still holding on. You got to make room for a new person in your life. You know what I'm saying? So, again, we just want to thank you guys for joining us. Anything else you want to add, Joe, before we close out? Babe?
Nope.
Okay. So, again, thank you guys for joining us. We love you guys. The next live will be next Tuesday at 6, most likely. And we'll see how long that goes, because we are going to be spending some time up in Connecticut next week. Because so
we about to turn
yeah.
Is somebody cooking when we
they
come
don't
this time?
All right, guys. Before
listen.
you guys get into this, we could take that offline. So, all right. So again, we love you guys. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for spending your time with us, your evening with us. And if you guys have any questions, please do not hesitate to ask. You could send us a private message. If anything comes later on down the line that you guys didn't get a chance to ask, we'll answer it right away, or whatever you're asking just may be good for another Facebook Live. I'm going to tell you, if there's somebody out there's going to be people out there that we're going to want to interview, and hopefully there's somebody out there that's going to be open, like we're trying to be open, and pretty much tell our story. Hopefully people want to tell their story just the same, and we can interview those people and kind of compare notes, if you will, and see how things are working out for them versus how things worked out for us. So again, thank you guys. You guys have a wonderful evening.
You too. Have a good evening.
All right.
Thanks.
All right, y'all.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye.